Every escape from North Korea is a gamble with fate, a high-stakes game where the consequences of failure are both swift and brutal. North Korea, a land shrouded in secrecy, ruled by an iron fist. Few dare to escape its clutches, even fewer succeed, but whispers travel, whispers of a daring escape. This is the story of Ri Sol-ju. Ri Sol-ju, wife of Kim Jong Un, the supreme leader, her life a carefully constructed narrative, but what secrets lie beneath? What drove her to risk everything? A story of love and fear, loyalty and betrayal. Unlike many in North Korea, Ri Sol-ju wasn't born into poverty. Her family, tied to the ruling Workers' Party, enjoyed comfort and influence. This upbringing provided Ri with access to rare opportunities. Did her exposure to the outside world plant seeds of discontent? Ri Sol-ju's life changed when she was chosen to marry Kim Jong Un. This arranged marriage was a strategic move to solidify Kim's power. Their union, announced in 2012, portrayed Kim as a modern leader. But what was the true nature of their relationship? Crafting an image. Ri Sol-ju, the people's princess. The propaganda machine crafted a new narrative for Ri Sol-ju. She became the respected first lady, a symbol of hope and modernity. Her image, carefully curated, was everywhere. But was it all a facade? Whispers behind the curtain, doubts and discontent. Rumors of Ri's unhappiness spread through the tightly controlled society. Defectors spoke of her isolation and lack of freedom. The world saw a carefully crafted persona, oblivious to her reality. Was she a willing participant or a prisoner in a gilded cage? A glimmer of hope, seeds of defiance. Ri Sol-ju's public appearances became less frequent, her demeanor subdued. Whispers of her discontent reached fever pitch when she disappeared. Speculation ran rampant. When she reappeared, she seemed different, her spark gone. This transformation fueled rumors of her growing dissatisfaction. A gilded cage life inside the palace walls. Ri Sol-ju lived in opulent palaces, surrounded by luxury, yet this lavish existence masked a darker reality. Her movements were restricted, her life meticulously planned. Isolation and loneliness became her constant companions. She was a prisoner in a gilded cage, trapped in a life she never chose. The eyes that never blink, constant surveillance and fear. Ri Sol-ju lived under constant surveillance, her every move watched. This relentless scrutiny created an atmosphere of suffocating fear. Every room was believed to be bugged with listening devices. Her staff were potential informants, their true allegiances in question. This constant surveillance took a heavy toll on her well-being. Whispers from the shadows, defector accounts of Ri's reality. Defectors shared stories of Ri Sol-ju's growing disillusionment. They spoke of her sadness and longing for a life beyond the palace walls. These accounts painted a picture of a woman trapped in a gilded cage. Former guards recounted the extraordinary security measures surrounding her. These accounts corroborated the image of a life lived under constant surveillance. The crushing weight of dynasty, family ties, and political stakes. Ri Sol-ju's position was deeply intertwined with the political realities of the regime. Her family likely benefited from her elevated status. This created a complex web of loyalty and obligation. Any attempt to escape would have dire consequences for her family. This knowledge weighed heavily on her, creating a constant moral dilemma. The price of loyalty in Kim Jong Un's regime. Ri Sol-ju witnessed the ruthlessness of her husband's regime. Loyalty to the Kim dynasty came at a steep price. She saw how easily those who once enjoyed favor could fall from grace. This growing realization fueled her desire for freedom. The seed of doubt, once planted, grew stronger with each passing day. The yearning for freedom, a basic human need. The desire for freedom is a fundamental human instinct. For Ri Sol-ju, this yearning became a driving force. Despite her privileged status, she was denied the freedom to choose her own path. The constant surveillance created an atmosphere of suffocating control. This yearning for freedom was a rejection of the regime's control. Maternal instincts, protecting her children from a toxic legacy. Ri Sol-ju's motivations for escape extended beyond her own yearning for freedom. The fate of her children weighed heavily on her mind. She was raising her children in a gilded cage, their lives linked to a dynasty built on fear. This fear for her children's future fueled her desire to break free. The crumbling facade witnessing the regime's true nature. Ri Sol-ju's position provided her with a unique perspective on the regime. She witnessed the cracks in the foundation, the brutality beneath the surface. This growing awareness fueled her desire to escape. The regime, once a source of pride, was now revealed as a brutal force. Section 4. Whispers of Change, Hope for a Different Future. Despite the omnipresent control exerted by the North Korean regime, whispers of change, of a world beyond the Iron Curtain, managed to penetrate the Hermit Kingdom's carefully constructed isolation. For Ri Sol-ju, these whispers offered a glimmer of hope, a vision of a different future, a future where freedom and opportunity were not privileges reserved for the elite, but basic rights afforded to all. These whispers came from various sources: foreign radio broadcasts, smuggled DVDs, and the accounts of defectors who risked their lives to share their stories. They painted a picture of a world vastly different from the one Ri Sol-ju knew, a world where people were free to choose their own paths, to express their opinions without fear, to live lives defined by opportunity rather than oppression. This exposure to alternative perspectives, to the idea that a different future was possible, fueled Ri Sol-ju's desire for change, both for herself and for her children. It ignited a spark of hope, a belief that escape from the clutches of the Kim dynasty, though fraught with danger, was not entirely impossible. A dangerous game, weighing the risks and rewards. Every escape from North Korea is a gamble with fate, a high-stakes game where the consequences of failure are both swift and brutal. For Ri Sol-ju, the stakes were even higher. Her position as First Lady, while offering a veneer of privilege, also made her a prime target, her every move scrutinized, her inner circle riddled with potential informants. To even contemplate escape was an act of defiance that could cost her everything. Yet the potential rewards were too tempting to ignore. Freedom, a word whispered in hushed tones within the confines of the Kim dynasty, held the promise of a life beyond imagination. The freedom to think her own thoughts, to speak her own mind, to raise her children in a world free from fear and oppression. These were the stakes that fueled her daring plan, the dream that outweighed the nightmares of failure. The risks were immense, but so were the potential rewards. It was a gamble Ri Sol-ju knew she had to take for herself, for her children, for a chance at a life beyond the suffocating grasp of the Kim regime. The need for absolute secrecy, trusting the unthinkable. Planning an escape from North Korea is like navigating a minefield blindfolded. One wrong step, one misplaced word, can have catastrophic consequences. For Ri Sol-ju, the need for absolute secrecy was paramount. Her every move was monitored, her conversations potentially overheard, her closest confidants suspect. Trusting anyone, even those she held dear, could prove fatal. The weight of this burden, the knowledge that any misstep could endanger not only her life but also the lives of those she loved, weighed heavily on her. To confide in anyone, even family members, was to potentially sign their death warrants. She had to operate in the shadows, her plans veiled in secrecy, her true intentions hidden even from those closest to her. The very act of planning her escape became a solitary endeavor, a testament to her courage and her unwavering commitment to freedom. She couldn't afford to share her fears, her doubts, or her hopes with anyone. She had to carry the burden alone, her silence a shield protecting those she loved from the regime's watchful eyes. Allies in the shadows, the role of underground networks. Escape from North Korea, while fraught with peril, is not entirely impossible. Over the years, a clandestine network of individuals, both within and outside the country, has emerged to assist those desperate to break free from the Kim regime's suffocating grip. These underground networks, operating under a cloak of secrecy, provide a lifeline to those yearning for freedom, offering a glimmer of hope in a land shrouded in fear. These networks are comprised of individuals from all walks of life, former government officials disillusioned with the regime, sympathetic citizens willing to risk their lives for others, and foreign activists dedicated to exposing the Kim dynasty's human rights abuses. They operate in the shadows, their actions hidden from the watchful eyes of the state security apparatus, their motives driven by a shared belief in the fundamental right to freedom. For Ri Sol-ju, these networks offered a lifeline, a way out of the gilded cage that had become her prison. Contacting them, however, would be fraught with danger. The regime's surveillance was pervasive, its methods brutal. One wrong move, one intercepted message could have devastating consequences. Section 4. Mapping the impossible escape routes and potential pitfalls. Escaping North Korea is not merely a matter of crossing a border. It's a perilous journey fraught with obstacles and uncertainties. The regime's security apparatus is vast and unforgiving, its borders heavily fortified, its surveillance networks pervasive. For Ri Sol-ju, planning her escape would require meticulous attention to detail, a keen understanding of the risks involved, and a willingness to adapt to unforeseen circumstances. Several escape routes presented themselves, each with its own set of challenges and potential pitfalls. The most obvious, crossing the demilitarized zone into South Korea, was also the most dangerous. Heavily mined, patrolled by armed guards, and monitored by sophisticated surveillance equipment, the DMZ was a death trap for those desperate enough to attempt a crossing. Another option involved traversing the country's northern border into China. While less heavily fortified than the DMZ, this route presented its own set of challenges: treacherous terrain, harsh weather conditions, and the constant threat of being apprehended by Chinese authorities, who often repatriated defectors back to North Korea, where they faced imprisonment, torture, or worse. Each escape route presented a complex web of logistical challenges and ethical dilemmas. Ri Sol-ju had to weigh the risks against the potential rewards, knowing that her decisions could have life-altering consequences for herself and those she loved. Section 1. A Night of Whispers and Shadows. The night of Ri Sol-ju's escape cloaked Pyongyang in a veil of darkness, the city's usual propaganda broadcasts replaced by an eerie silence. Even the omnipresent portraits of the Kim dynasty seemed to watch with a chilling intensity. Inside one of the regime's most heavily guarded compounds, Ri prepared for her desperate gamble, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Her movements were ghost-like. Gone were the designer gowns, replaced by the drab attire of an ordinary citizen, a disguise meant to blend into the shadows. In her hand she clutched a small bag containing the bare essentials and the weight of her hopes and fears. A single contact awaited her at a prearranged location outside the compound walls. This woman represented her only link to the underground network, her only hope for freedom. As Ri Sol-ju slipped out of a service entrance, her heart threatening to burst from her chest, a silent prayer escaped her lips. It was a prayer for protection, for strength, for a chance at a life she had only dared to dream of. The night stretched before her, a labyrinth of shadows and whispers, the path to freedom paved with uncertainty and danger. Section 2. The Heart of the Labyrinth, Navigating Pyongyang's Underbelly. Pyongyang at night was a city transformed, its daytime facade of order and obedience giving way to a more clandestine reality. Beneath the watchful gaze of the regime's propaganda, a hidden world thrived, a network of whispers and shadows where ordinary citizens engaged in illicit activities, fueled by desperation and a longing for something more. It was through this underbelly that Ri Sol-ju, stripped of her former status, had to navigate, her every sense on high alert. Streets once teeming with military parades and choreographed displays of loyalty were now shrouded in darkness, the only illumination coming from flickering streetlights and the occasional brazier where vendors huddled against the night's chill. The air hung heavy with the scent of coal smoke and something less definable, a mixture of fear and defiance that clung to the city like a shroud. Following her contact's carefully crafted instructions, Ri Sol-ju moved through the labyrinthine streets, her senses overwhelmed by the sights, sounds and smells so different from the sterile confines of her former life. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every passerby a potential informant. The weight of her secret, the knowledge that discovery meant certain death, pressed down on her, threatening to crush her spirit. Section 3. Betrayal and Trust, a desperate alliance tested. The woman leading Ri Sol-ju through Pyongyang's underbelly moved with a practiced ease, her knowledge of the city's hidden pathways and clandestine meeting places, suggesting a life lived on the edge of society. Their relationship, forged in desperation and shrouded in secrecy, was a fragile thing, built on a foundation of mutual need and a shared desire to escape the regime's suffocating grasp. As they navigated the city's dark heart, Ri Sol-ju found herself questioning her companion's motives. Was this woman truly an ally, a selfless conduit to freedom, or was she leading Ri into a carefully orchestrated trap, a pawn in a larger game orchestrated by the very regime she sought to escape? The fear of betrayal gnawed at Ri's resolve. She had staked her life, her children's future on this stranger's word. To turn back now would be to court certain death, to remain a prisoner of her former life. Yet to proceed blindly, trusting in someone whose true allegiances remained shrouded in doubt, was a gamble of unimaginable proportions. Section 4. The Frozen River, a leap of faith into the unknown. Their journey led them to the edge of the Taedong River, its icy surface shimmering under the pale moonlight. The river, once a symbol of Pyongyang's grandeur, its banks lined with stately buildings and manicured gardens, now represented a formidable barrier, its frigid waters promising a different kind of freedom, the cold embrace of death. The contact produced a pair of ice picks, their metal tips glinting ominously in the moonlight. This was the escape route, the perilous passage to the other side, where a different set of dangers awaited. Ri Sol-ju, her body trembling with fear and the biting cold, stared at the frozen expanse, her mind rebelling against the impossible choice before her. To cross the river meant risking her life, trusting in the ice's ability to hold her weight, praying that the cold wouldn't claim her before she reached the other side. To turn back meant certain capture, a fate worse than death. The decision, like every other she had made that night, was both terrifying and unavoidable. Section 5. Freedom's Price. Leaving everything behind. Each step onto the frozen river was an act of defiance, a rejection of the life Ri Sol-ju had once known. The icy air stung her lungs, each breath a testament to her will to survive. Behind her lay the gilded cage of her former existence, the suffocating control of the Kim regime, the unbearable weight of her secret. Ahead lay the unknown, a world shrouded in uncertainty and danger, but also the tantalizing promise of freedom. The further she ventured onto the ice, the more real her escape became. But with each step forward, the pain of what she was leaving behind intensified. Images flooded her mind, her children's faces etched with innocence and fear, the warmth of their laughter echoing in her heart, their small hands reaching out for hers. The thought of them, trapped within the regime's gilded cage, their lives forever intertwined with the Kim dynasty's legacy of brutality, spurred her onward. She had chosen freedom, for herself and for them, even if it meant enduring the unbearable pain of separation. Sanctuary, finding refuge in a world unknown. Ri Sol-ju's first breath on free soil was a revelation, but the euphoria of escape was quickly tempered by the daunting reality of her situation, alone in a foreign land. Safe passage had been arranged, a new identity created, a sanctuary provided. The world outside the regime's iron curtain was both exhilarating and terrifying. The laughter of children playing in the streets, it was a sensory overload, a constant reminder of all she had missed. She was adrift in a sea of unfamiliar faces. The fear of discovery cast a long shadow over her newfound freedom. The Kim regime's grip on power was built on a foundation of fear and retribution. Defectors, those who dared to challenge the regime's authority, were not merely enemies of the state, they were existential threats, their very existence a challenge to the Kim dynasty's carefully constructed narrative of absolute control. Ri Sol-ju's escape, a betrayal of unimaginable proportions, would not go unpunished. The regime's response was swift and brutal. A wave of purges swept through the ranks of the elite. Anyone suspected of complicity in Ri Sol-ju's escape, or even possessing knowledge of her plans, disappeared into the labyrinthine depths of the regime's prison camps. Families were torn apart, their lives shattered by suspicion and fear. The regime's propaganda machine went into overdrive, churning out a steady stream of lies and distortions, painting Ri Sol-ju as a traitor, a pawn manipulated by foreign powers. Her escape, a desperate attempt to smear the Kim dynasty's impeccable reputation. The truth, like so much else in North Korea, was buried beneath layers of deceit and intimidation. But the regime's attempts to control the narrative could not erase the truth. Ri Sol-ju's escape, her defiance of the Kim dynasty's tyranny, sent shockwaves through North Korean society. The whispers started, questioning the regime's authority, challenging its carefully constructed facade of strength and unity. The seeds of doubt, once planted, began to take root. For Ri Sol-ju, the joy of freedom was forever tinged with a profound sense of loss. The price of her escape was the separation from her children. They remained trapped within the Kim dynasty, their lives scrutinized for any hint of disloyalty. Every night she lay awake, her mind consumed by images of their faces, their laughter echoing in her ears. The memory of their touch, a phantom limb she longed to reclaim. The guilt gnawed at her, a constant reminder of the sacrifice she had made. She yearned to reach out to them, to assure them of her love, but any contact would only endanger them further. The regime's cruelty knew no bounds. The pain of separation was a constant ache. She clung to the hope that one day she would be reunited with her children. Until then, she had to find the strength to carry on. The road to healing was long and arduous, paved with moments of both despair and hope. Ri Sol-ju, stripped of her former identity, had to rebuild her life from the ground up, learning to navigate a world that both fascinated and intimidated her. But with each passing day, with each challenge overcome, she began to reclaim her sense of self, to embrace the freedom she had so desperately craved. She dedicated herself to learning the language of her new home, to understanding its culture, to building a life of purpose and meaning. She found solace in simple pleasures, a walk in the park, a cup of coffee with newfound friends, the joy of reading books forbidden in her former life. The fear of the past, the ever-present threat of the regime's reach, never fully abated, but it no longer controlled her. She had tasted freedom, and she refused to let the ghosts of her past dictate the terms of her future. Ri Sol-ju's story, shrouded in secrecy and speculation, serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost of oppression. Her daring escape from the gilded cage of the Kim dynasty, fueled by a mother's love and a yearning for freedom, stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit that resides within us all, even in the darkest of times. While her fate remains unknown, her story continues to resonate far beyond the borders of North Korea. She has become a symbol of hope for those trapped within the regime's grasp, a reminder that even in the most oppressive of circumstances, the human spirit can never be truly extinguished. Her sacrifice, the unbearable price she paid for freedom, serves as a stark indictment of the Kim dynasty's brutality and a call to action for the international community. It is a reminder that the fight for human rights, for freedom of thought and expression, for the right to live a life free from fear and oppression, is a fight that must be fought on all fronts, in every corner of the globe. Ri Sol-ju's story, though shrouded in mystery, is ultimately a story of hope. It is a story of courage, of resilience, of the enduring power of the human spirit to overcome even the most daunting of obstacles in its pursuit of freedom.